in business science office, Polish part of Brussels, I can say. So thank you very much for your hospitality during this event. We would like to discuss today a little bit more about cloud services or digital transformation of Europe, of CEE countries. I'm Michał Kanownik. I'm one of the leaders of CEE Digital Coalition of digital industry of Free Seas countries, CEE region. I would like to welcome our special guest. First, Eduard Miteliu, Secretary of State, Minister of Research, Innovation and Digitalization of Romania. Welcome in Brussels. And Pierre Chastanet, Head of Unit, DG Communications Network, Content and Technology, European Commission. Thank you for your time. And because we have a lot of topics, a lot of discussions, so let's start from very short my presentation with few slides about a few numbers, few issues. Where are we with cloud services in Europe, in CEE countries, and where we can be in the future? What to do to use this potential of cloud technology in Europe? So, can I next on the slide? So last 10 years, over 10 years, in Europe was created over 1.5 million new jobs operated by cloud computing development. And during the last 5 years in Europe, we were able to create over 300,000 of startups based on cloud services. And as European Commission mentioned, additional income in Europe based on cloud services will be almost 500 billion euro. So we can see that the opportunity of cloud technology, cloud services in Europe is absolutely huge, and we have to do everything what we can to use this potential for our region, for whole Europe. Size of the cloud computing market in Europe was estimated about 50 billion euro in 2020, but next 5 years it will increase to probably about over 150 billion euro by 2025. So we have to understand and remember that every single industry and branch of the public sector benefits from adoption of cloud. Without this understanding, this rule we won't be able to discuss about future of these services in Europe. Use of cloud computing lowers barriers to market entry, increases SMEs competitiveness, and facilitates the development of new innovative products. It's a huge chance for our startups, for our young small companies to find a place on the global market with new services, new products based on cloud technology. And next slide. And few numbers which maybe not so optimistic especially for CEE region. First, increasing number of European companies are integrating in cloud computing services into their processes. EU average of cloud adoption in the private sector is circa about 41%, but it's huge differences between different countries, different regions in Europe in this area, and for sure CEE region is on much lower level of this adoption. For example, Czech Republic ranks highest in the CEE region, 29, Slovakia 26, Hungary 25, Poland only 24% right now. And of course, we have to agree that group of these low adopters consists of mostly of CEE countries, so we have to really a lot to do in our region. And unfortunately, adoption also varies by organization size, and it's significantly lower among SMEs. Bigger and the biggest companies are in the much better situation. Relatively low level of cloud adoption and digital transformation of CEE economies means that the region can benefit particularly from making progress on its path towards cloud. It could be easier to reach faster some success, some goals in this area. CEE remains a home to extraordinary innovators and experts pushing the European digital industry forward. This potential must be tapped into. And what is I think the most important, Central Eastern Europe is an increasingly significant direction for setting up data centers. For example, Poland in top 15 countries globally in terms of number of centers. So absolutely we have huge investments in our region, especially in Poland. We have huge investment of Google, Microsoft in data centers. So absolutely we have to use this opportunity, this chance for our economy. And we would like to discuss, next slide please, today about few challenges which I mentioned in our first slides. First, insufficient competence and awareness among potential adopters. Second, drastic increase in cyber threats and cyber attacks, what is absolutely crucial for our, especially CEE region, based on experiences in war in Ukraine. Regulatory environment. We have a few examples in our region, good and not so good regulations in this area, and during the first panel we'll be able to talk about some experiences in this area. And technological sovereignty approach. I hope that we'll be able to listen something more about it, especially from the European Commission. I hope that today's discussion will be very fruitful for us to find out what is the most important issues for our region in cloud future, for CEE, for whole Europe, and how we as an industry can cooperate, can be partnership with our governments, our Commission to build together opportunity for our business, for public administration in our region to increase level of adoption of cloud services. But we have a lot of special guests for keynotes, so maybe we will start our keynotes. So first I would like to invite on the stage Pierre Chasnet, Head of Unit, Digi Communications, Networks, Content and Technology, European Commission for keynote.
Dzień dobry. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Many thanks for inviting me to today's discussion. I will try to give you a bit of an overview of the policies that we're stimulating at European level with respect to cloud policies. I have a few slides which are probably coming up, but as they are coming up, just to say that the Commission has a very pro-cloud agenda. We want European companies to move to the cloud. This is an essential part of any digital transformation process. If you want your companies to compete in the digital age, if you want to be able to use artificial intelligence, blockchain, big data analytics, you have to move your organization into the cloud. That's true for businesses, but that's also true for the public sector as well. So data has really been at the forefront of the Commission agenda for this college since the early days of the von der Leyen's presidency. The data strategy has been guiding our action since the very early days. Europe must be able to master the data, notably to be able to fuel artificial intelligence and machine learning process in Europe. We want to be able to train artificial intelligence with European data so that those AI can actually take a decision on which we have a certain transparency control when taking place in Europe. The Commission, through the Resilience and Recovery Facility, has injected a huge amount of money into digital, so through the Resilience and Recovery Facility, trying to take the opportunity of the crisis to actually materialize this vision of the Commission to do the twin digital and green transition. And cloud is really the perfect opportunity at the intersection of these two worlds. So we're working a lot on the industrial dimension, investing into novel cloud technologies, but also at the same time making sure that the European market is open to all market players, providing that they abide by the same rules. So we want a well-functioning and competing market for cloud in Europe. Next slide, please. Just a few words about the data strategy. We want European businesses to be able to make the best possible use of data. We want companies to be able to exchange data, typically along value chain. That's how it works best. So we want companies to be able to exchange easily data with their suppliers, with their customers, in a totally fluid manner. So integration of data along industrial value chain is extremely important. But very often companies are concerned by the rules that may apply. Are there risk of intellectual property theft? Are they concerned over what may be done with their data? Can I actually monetize the data that my company is holding? All those are very valid questions. And again, there were some missing rules at European level. That's what we've been trying to develop through the Data Governance Act and through the Data Act to provide those legal certainties for European businesses. The Commission wants to develop common European data spaces on a sectoral basis. We want to encourage companies to share data, pool data together to maximize the efficiency of data sharing at European level. So of course there needs to be some incentive. Companies will expect to have some gains when they are sharing data with competitors. So it has to be a win-win for everybody in that respect. And finally, we must have solid cloud infrastructures to be able to support the development of those data spaces. So the data strategy is creating the framework condition, but also outlining the actions that the Commission has followed over the past years to be able to develop the framework that will allow us to implement this. Next slide. So a word on the infrastructure, data infrastructure aspect. Through the digital decade, the Commission has set very ambitious target in terms of cloud adoption in Europe. We want to have 75% of European enterprises operating in cloud by the end of this decade. That's a very ambitious target. You recall the 41% actual development at this stage, and with enormous discrepancies in Europe. So we have some countries that are as low as 5%, whereas some others are already meeting the European target. So we have to overcome these discrepancies and bring everybody, regardless of where companies are operating in Europe, to a high level of adoption. Currently, companies are adopting mostly very basic services like email, like storage. That's insufficient. They are not gaining the productivity gains that they can hope from the cloud. They have to adopt more advanced cloud services. We want them to use artificial intelligence, to use enterprise resource planning, customer relationship management in a cloud-based manner. So that shows that for all market actors, there is really untapped potential. So for smaller European players as well as global hyperscalers, there is really big market opportunity in Europe for cloud adoption. Second big target is going local. We see that currently data processing capacities in Europe are extremely concentrated in just a few countries. And when you're a business in Romania or Bulgaria, your nearest cloud provider is located thousands of kilometers away. So that makes it very difficult for enterprises located there to have access to highly performing cloud infrastructure. That's why the Commission has come up with this idea to deploy local data processing capacities with the deployment of edge nodes. So edge are smaller data center or smaller computing capacity that can be made available locally. It will be helpful to process local data. It will put users more in control of their data as well. So we want to have those capacities really spread all over the European territory. Next slide, please. So the Commission has been using different leverage in its approach. We've been using the legislative leverage with the Data Act, for instance, trying to overcome barriers of vendor lock-in, which are currently not acceptable. We can't have cloud providers locking their customers. There should be freedom of choice for European businesses. If they are happy with their cloud service provider, that's great. If they are not happy or want to change to a different type of service, it should be easy for them to do so. That's what the Data Act is catering for when it comes to cloud. We're also trying to remedy abuse of dominant position, the fact that certain market actors are becoming gatekeepers on the cloud business. So we will address this with the Digital Market Act. Last but not least, we're trying to develop coordination among European actors through the Alliance for Industrial Data, Edge and Cloud. I will come back on this particular point later on, because that's where we will really welcome to have more CEE businesses to take part to this initiative. Just a word about the Data Act. I've briefly explained the cloud provision, the fact that this will cater for easier switching of business users, so freedom of choice, and allows them to move to any service provider they want. But there is also a strong dimension about data sharing. So the Data Act creates the framework that will allow businesses to share data and unlock the potential behind industrial data. So just to give a concrete example, when you buy an industrial IoT device, that device should not come locked with a certain data service. So if you want to share your data on an industrial IoT device with a different service provider, you should be able to do so, or actually use different service provider capturing your IoT data for different purposes. You should also be able to revoke that data access whenever you want and retrieve your data for your own purpose. So the Data Act is catering for that flexibility and again giving users freedom of choice in the services that they want to use. So empowering users, empowering businesses on what they can do with their data. Next slide. This is a bit of a complex picture, but I would like to pause here just for a minute because it explains quite well the vision of the Commission in the data strategy. On the bottom side, we want to integrate all computing capacities that are available in Europe. Basically, any user industry or public sector organization should be able to integrate the computing capacities that they need for their specific needs. And that can mean that they integrate infrastructures and services coming from different cloud service providers. So a multi-cloud approach, a multi-provider approach is something that we absolutely welcome. And this can only happen if there is seamless interoperability across the different providers. On the upper part of the diagram, you have the sectoral approach. So the fact that we want to develop European data spaces on a sectoral basis. So that will allow the automotive sector, the energy sector, the health sector to be able to exchange data, pool data in a seamless manner using common standards, using common data infrastructure, or at least connected infrastructure. We don't want big data bases sitting in Brussels. That's absolutely not the idea. But we want to have interconnected data spaces, pulling the data wherever they are being located in Europe. Next slide, please. The European Commission is coming with a lot of investment to materialize that vision that I've just detailed. And we're trying to intervene at different stages of the life cycle of product and service development in the data and cloud area. We're using Horizon Europe, the research and innovation program of the European Commission, to invest in early technologies. We're using the Connecting Europe facility to interconnect infrastructures, so data centers of public administration, notably. And finally, we're using the Digital Europe program to develop common data services and to pay for the initial development of those common European data spaces. Next slide, please. In total, we aim to mobilize some 10 billion of euros in the coming 5 years to develop those common data infrastructure and services and the development of common European data spaces. So there will be about 2 billion euros coming from those European programs I've just mentioned, so Digital Europe program, Horizon and Connecting Europe facility. A lot of the money will come from the member states themselves. As I was mentioning, we have invested a lot of money from the Resilience and Recovery Facility. And finally, we expect co-financing. So a lot of those investment programs, they require co-financing. So we want industry to co-invest with us. That will create the right incentive to make a success out of this. Next slide, please. This is just a snapshot of the key ideas that are behind each of this program. I'm not going to detail them now, but that will give you an idea if you want to explore further key investment opportunities. We're currently having call for proposals that are open in each of these 3 programs. I really invite you to go to the Commission website and look for funding opportunities, look for partners. We're really missing participation from CEE countries. So please do look at the funding opportunities that are available. There are literally billions of euros sitting and waiting for you to apply with partners from other countries. So please have a look. There is really great potential there for investment. Next slide. We do understand it's a challenge, especially from CEE countries' companies, to find the right partners in Europe. And that's generally something that we have noticed in the cloud and data space, that companies do not know each other. Typically, they will know their competitors or their partners at national level, but they will not know people who are doing exactly the same business as they do in other European countries. And this has been a major driver for us to launch this initiative on a European Alliance for Industrial Data, Edge and Cloud. This is an organization that is aiming at facilitating the dialogue between these smaller European actors in a way that they can actually look at developing technology road mapping, for instance, look at the future together. And this is very important to have participants from all countries in that respect. We have currently about 50 organizations from all over Europe participating in that adventure. But again, we're really missing more participation from CEE countries and Nordic countries in this initiative. The Alliance is actually very complementary to a number of other initiatives and is aiming at not duplicating the work done in those initiatives. So the Alliance, on a technical point of view, is very much focusing on the bottom part of the architecture diagram I was showing. So looking at more the computing continuum, cloud edge integration, and specific cloud edge services that need to be developed at European level. So in that respect, they are very much complementary to the work being done elsewhere on common European data space. There is some money that will come from the bid that some member states are making through the important project of common European interest on cloud and edge technology, looking very much on the research and innovation side of future cloud and edge technology. So that's the next generation of cloud and edge and data processing technology for Europe. Last but not least, we're aiming at not duplicating with the work that Gaia-X is doing, and we're trying to work in good synergies with the work being done in Gaia-X at European level, but also through the national hubs that exist in more or less every member state in Europe. Next slide, please. So just some more words about the Alliance. This is structured in 3 working groups. We have a working group dedicated to cloud and edge technology, and it's certainly the most active working group in the Alliance. They are divided in 10 task forces looking at specific technologies, and there is really very good cooperation in these different task forces. So again, inviting you to participate. There is a second working group that is looking at the specific cloud needs for high-end security sectors, notably the aeronautics, security and defense sector. And last but not least, we have a member state group which is looking at the requirement of the public sector when it comes to cloud. So how can they use cloud to undertake digital transformation in the public sector? Next slide. I think we can skip this one. And so just to give you an idea of the members who are participating in the alliance. So as you can see, it's most of the names you will have never heard about them, which is actually a very good sign because most of those companies are actually European SMEs. And that's why we wanted to have the alliance to be able to create a safe space for smaller European companies to speak with each other, exchange ideas, develop a strategic technological roadmap for a common future in cloud and edge in Europe. So many thanks for your attention. Look for the alliance, come and participate. Look for funding opportunities. There is really ample opportunities for you in the different European funding programs. Many thanks for your attention and looking forward to cooperating with Poland, Romania, and other CEE countries in that respect. Many thanks.
I can add that my organization, Digital Poland Association, we are waiting for being member of Digital Alliance. So I hope that finally we will be able to join this forum. Okay, so let's thank you very much, Pierre, for your presentation, for your words, and let's move to business point of view on cloud. What is the opinion of future of this market, these services, based on experiences from Brussels, from different countries in Europe and in the world. So please welcome Lee Junius, Senior Director, Government Affairs and Public Policy, Cloud EU, Google. Lee, the floor is yours. Maybe I will help you. Okay. How can I help you? Oh.
Hello, everyone, and thanks for bearing with me. I have low mobility at the moment. So thank you for having me and inviting me today and to be part of this discussion. And I'm happy to address today the role of US cloud investment in Central and Eastern Europe. As Michael said, my name is Lee Junius. I'm responsible for government affairs and public policies for Google Cloud in Europe. I'm very pleased to have a conversation together with you today, and I would like to touch three aspects. The first element that I would like to address together with you is the crucial importance of transatlantic trade and the relationship as such between Europe and US. And here, Central and Eastern European countries have been very instrumental in driving a number of aspects of these relationships in the last few years. As we all know, we're living in unprecedented circumstances at the moment, and to be able to trust and to rely on our allies have never been more important than today. Second, I would like to touch at how we're looking at cybersecurity at Google Cloud. Helping our customers across the Atlantic to augment cyber defense and operational resilience capabilities. Migration to cloud has enabled governments, agencies, financial services institutions, educators, health providers, as well as commercial entities to improve their security and their resilience, as well as the data protection posture at scale. And this is also because of the volume of the investment that we, hyperscalers and cloud providers, make into the design of our systems and infrastructures. Understanding the landscape, that this is, how we're looking at it is critical, and working together to address the heightened cybersecurity challenges are becoming much more important going forward, especially now when we've seen what the result is of the war in Ukraine and we get a first glimpse of a full-scale conflict in the cyberspace. And lastly, I will address and will reflect on the key developments that Pierre touched upon, policy rules and regulations in privacy, sovereignty, and areas like portability that will impact fundamentally the adoption of cloud technology and define the future of the digital transatlantic trade. So let's start with the transatlantic relationship. No other regions in the world are as digitally interconnected as Europe and the US at the moment. Pierre mentioned as well that it's the European Commission's ambition by 2030 to have 75% of European enterprises relying on cloud adoption, as well as using big data and AI, and also to double its number of unicorns. And I think that the free flow of data is the foundation for the EU to achieve these goals. A durable transatlantic partnership is key to ensure Europe will remain and stay competitive and strong. Europe is the top-ranked exporter to the US of digitally enabled services, as you all know, and vice versa. The US is the top exporter to Europe. On average, there are more than $3.5 billion goods and services traded across the Atlantic every single day. And this trade is supporting more than 16 million jobs on both sides. And Central and Eastern European countries have also become a growth engine of the EU with its digital economy and GDP growing faster than Western Europe. In the last 5 years, the digital economy was on average over 3% higher than in the 5 biggest countries in the EU. McKinsey made a study where it estimated that Central and Eastern European digital economy could secure a further 200 billion euros in growth by 2030 if the region improves its digital ecosystem. So at Google and Google Cloud, we're deeply rooted in Central and Eastern Europe and are committed to this region. We have offices and business presence in almost every capital in the region and have invested engineering teams, big cloud teams as well, in Warsaw, Bucharest, and Budapest. And we will continue also to invest in infrastructure. Almost exactly 2 years ago, in April 2021, we opened a cloud region in Warsaw in connection with the national cloud provider. And this partnership has allowed our local customers to access industry-leading innovations together with the partner, where we're able to host their data in Poland, but also in other regions. And of course, we also continue to invest in CEE in a lot of skills and upskilling efforts, especially with regard to cyber skills. Let me now go to the most important chunk of my presentation today, which is cybersecurity and very relevant at the moment. What we see at the moment is that the internet infrastructure on both sides of the Atlantic is increasingly under threat of cyber attacks. That continue to exploit a lot of vulnerabilities targeting people, organizations, but also governments. Last month, we released a report with Google, with our cybersecurity teams, where we described what we had observed in the past year following Russia's invasion in Ukraine. And I wanted to highlight a few of the learnings that we saw there. We saw a 250% increase in phishing attacks targeting Ukrainian people and over 300% increase in attacks targeting users in NATO countries last year. We saw that there were more destructive cyber attacks in Ukraine during the first 4 months of 2022 than in the previous 8 years in total, threatening the security of the Ukrainian infrastructure like never before. As a consequence, what we believe is that we need more and not less coordination in cybersecurity space between Europe and the US in building shared standards to increase the effectiveness of those defenses. As I said before, I think it's an unprecedented time. On the one hand, we see that digital tools, including cloud technology, have never been more essential to get access to information, to work remotely, to offer services to customers, etc. But on the other hand, we see malicious cyber activities has grown enormously, have become very disruptive and costing European businesses billions of euros each year. And fraying public trust, especially in the digital ecosystem. So as a global technology provider, we want to be a constructive partner to the European governments and organizations in this environment. And in our view, the objective of digital transformation to deliver it in a secure and a sovereign way are closely aligned. Cloud innovation can deliver on the promise of the highest data security and sovereignty, and we have worked very hard across our organization to be able to offer these concrete solutions in this space. Cybersecurity has really become absolutely key and central in everything what we do at Google. We build continuously improvements into our core platforms with the insights and expertise that we developed from securing every day billions of users. We leverage our economies of scale globally to democratize the access to the state-of-art security solutions. And because Google's own and also the enterprise services we provide run on exactly the same infrastructure, our customers benefit from the protections that we've built and use every day. We provide security through defense in depth, consisting of purpose-built hardware, strong encryption, security by default software, and of course, zero trust. Our model of shared fate means that we, as a cloud provider, collaborate with the customers to address common security challenges and set them up for success, rather than dividing the responsibilities into mutually exclusive domains. That's not our vision. So as a provider, we're able to track malicious actors around the planet. And when we observe an attack targeting one customer in one country, we can deliver countermeasures that benefit all customers globally. And in this way, Google Cloud, together with other hyperscalers, operate like a digital immune system for the internet. One very good example that I would like to cite is Project Shield. Project Shield is a tool from Google Cloud that blocks denial of service or DDoS attacks. And it's available free of charge to human rights organizations, independent media organizations, and in some cases also governments under threat. And we saw that Russian DDoS attacks were having major impacts on Ukrainians' ability to access information about where they can find food, where they can find shelter, evacuation, and updates from public authorities. So Project Shield today in Ukraine is used by more than 200 organizations to exactly address this problem. And we continue to develop our security capabilities. We've acquired Mandiant last year, where we now are able to combine our existing security portfolio with Mandiant's leading cyber threats intelligence. And moreover, we want to actively participate in debates like this one, in the conversation how to drive improvements for security in the region. We published a white paper last year for European policymakers. It was a request from President von der Leyen when we met in Davos, who said that companies like us should contribute to the debate. And we came up with a few ideas around transatlantic collaboration, provision of state-of-the-art tooling, as well as through developing joint awareness and information sharing. And we're committed to play our role in this team sport, which cyber defense definitely is. We understand that to fully embrace the transformation to the cloud, you don't only need security. You also need trust. And governments and private sector organizations need to have the confidence and the peace of mind that when they deploy the latest innovations, they are doing so in a way that companies comply with rapidly evolving legislation or sovereignty requirements. And with that in mind, we've launched 2 years ago a program which was called Cloud on Europe's Terms. And this is our promise to deliver cloud services that provide the highest level of digital sovereignty whilst enabling innovation. And we've worked around 3 areas in this program. The first area is data sovereignty. So how can we make sure that customers are keeping control over encryption and access to their data? The second element is operational sovereignty, so making sure that the customer keeps visibility and control over the provider's operator, so our operations. And lastly, software sovereignty, making sure that customers can continue running workloads without a dependence on a provider's software like ours. And this approach includes strategic commitments with a number of products. One element there is data residency with EU cloud regions. I mentioned the one in Warsaw. But also encryption tools are very, very important. We apply it as a standard for all data in transit, in use, and at rest. But we've developed also additional sovereign controls, including external key management, and for workspace also client-side encryptions and key access justification. We believe that encryption provides the strongest and most effective technical measure against extra-territorial data access requests. And the program is not just one invented by us in a void, it's the result of conversations we had with politicians, with agencies, with customers, but also making sure that we develop this program together with European customers, European partners, where we work together with them to provide additional areas of sovereign controls. One foundational pillar of our commitment is our commitment to an open ecosystem. Pierre mentioned it again, open ecosystem is absolutely critical to have cloud adoption. A key pillar there is our belief in open source and a multi-cloud environment that guarantees customer freedom of choice and interoperability as they need to succeed in their journey of digital acceleration and reduce the risks of critical dependencies on third-party providers. So I spend a lot of time on cybersecurity because I think it's very topical and wanted to give you a flavor of how we respond and contribute with our products to this big challenge. And then last but not least, let me say a few words on policies and regulations. So we've seen that the European Commission has been very active to address the threat and misinformation landscape in the last years. You mentioned EUCS, the Data Act, the DSA, the DMA, the Cyber Resilience Act. So a lot of provisions that will be absolutely critical for the future adoption of new technologies by European organizations, including cloud, which is now de facto becoming a regulated industry. And we believe that this approach of regulation will bring many benefits in the long run, especially by providing more clarity, more transparency, and especially more assurances to the customers. However, at the time when European officials have set the target of the 75% of European customers on cloud, it's crucial that in all those emerging policies, we do not unintentionally impede on innovation. It's something we always take very much at heart. Central and Eastern European companies and especially governments we know are particularly concerned about the cloud providers' ability to act on cybersecurity challenges, and it's therefore very important that provisions in EU digital policies do not reduce the company's ability to prepare and act for this type of cyber situations. One very concrete example of an unintended consequence is, for instance, the requirement on vulnerability disclosures in the Cyber Resilience Act. where we as Google are a proponent of open and transparent approach to cybersecurity. For instance, more than 10 years ago, we were hacked by the Chinese government, and we really disclosed this as a company. But what we see in the provisions now is that we would have to disclose this type of attacks even before they're patched, and we think that there is a risk for malicious actors to manipulate this. So looking at industry best practices together with the legislator, it's something that we would really like to offer. Another growing trend that is a bit concern for me, but I think for other policymakers as well, is certain governments' inclination to consider data localization requirements. As data localization on its own, we believe, does not help to address security and privacy risk. And in fact, this stressing of data localization could again have unintended consequences. We believe that it's how the data is used, how it's processed, and how it's protected that matters more than where it's physically stored. Cloud providers, as I mentioned before, have a multiple amount of security protections for customer data. And we offer, this type of services and security and sovereignty services to our customers. We see that those that are in favor of data localization argue that those measures are necessary to prevent the theft or the destruction of sensitive data by criminals or adversarial nations, or to protect sensitive data from extraterritorial access by foreign governments, or to ensure continuity of operators in case of cross-border data flows are disrupted. So we understand the motivations, and we hear that this could offer the perception of control over sensitive data. But we have to realize that data localization involves trade-offs against resilience to external threats and risk, especially in CEE, in this region facing a lot of cyber attacks. So as Google, we have a very clear vision that the most trusted, innovative, and secure cloud for our customers is needed. And we believe that we can give our customer the right sovereign controls to make the choice and address these trade-offs. And we believe, that there are other ways than data localization to solve this. We also warn that policies of data localization could also have implications for the digital trade flows between the EU and the US. So we need to make sure that we can continue to reap the benefits of this partnership. One last word on the EU-US data privacy framework, which we very much support. Ever since the shield has been invalidated by the Court of Justice, we've seen a lot of ambiguity in the environment. So hence, we very much welcome the current work that has been done between the EU and the US, especially as part of the Trade and the Technology Council. We believe that the EU-US data privacy framework should foster EU-US data flows to ensure excellent data privacy and address the concerns raised by the court. And what we've seen so far in terms of proposals, we believe is a very big step forward. And we hope that the framework will be adopted very soon, because legal certainty is very important. So to conclude, I want to leave you with our strong commitment to supporting Central and Eastern Europe ambitious to build a secure, a resilient, and a competitive economy with the help of digital tools and cloud technologies in particular. Throughout the years, we've invested into transparency, security, and sovereignty solutions, and a big part of this effort has been in partnership with the European technology and security leaders. So conversations like these are important, and I'm looking to discuss this further with you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Let's start for discussion, panel discussion, and I would like to invite my guest during first panel. I would like to invite on stage Eduard Mitelu, Secretary of State, Minister of Research, Innovation and Digitization from Romania. Katarzyna Prusak-Górniak, Head of Digital Affairs Unit in Parliament Representation of Poland to the EU. Mark Borys Andrianic, former Minister of Digital Transformation of Slovenia, member of the Governing Board at the European Institute of Innovation and Technology. And Roberto Cascella, Head of Sector Technology, Supply Chain and Strategic Autonomy at the European Cybersecurity Scheme for Cloud Services. So, one more time, thank you very much for your participation in our conference and this debate. We had a very interesting speeches from European Commission and from business side, from Google. And frankly speaking, I'm not sure from which part of this discussion I should start, but maybe because we are in Brussels, in the capital of the regulation. So maybe let's start from regulations part. So what do you think about this mass of regulations which we have on the table right now in Brussels? So we have Data Act, AI Act, DSA, DMA, Cyber Resilience Act. We have European Cybersecurity Certification Scheme for Cloud Services, and much more. What do you think, in which direction these regulations are moving our digital industry in Europe, in the CEE region?
If I may start, because we
Sure.
focused on some regulation concerning data, but one important piece of regulation was not mentioned yet, the NIS2. That's also a very important part of building our resilience that was adopted last year, and the timeline for implementation is running. It's also important for the cloud services, where it changes a lot when it comes to legal framework on the cloud. And of course, also when it comes to cybersecurity, which was mentioned, and I'm very thankful for that, at the EU level, there are also many initiatives, recommendations, council conclusions on cyber posture, recent recommendation for the council on a coordinated approach when it comes to building resilience of the critical infrastructure. And on the basis of this document, there are many common actions undertaken by the EU member states to build this resilience. So indeed, a lot of is going on, and the main challenge, I guess, is to make sure that everything is aligned and that there is no change. There are no gaps between the legislation. And yet another important piece of legislation is the review of the EIDAS with the digital identity wallet that, in my opinion, will have a huge impact on the provision of development, even more of the online services. And for online services, the cloud is super crucial. So this would be my input, initial input.
Thank you very much. I fully agree. Of course, we can mention a few more probably regulations. So for sure, there is a lot of regulation for digital industry, crucial for digital industry for our future. So what is direction of these regulations in Europe? Is it a good direction for digital industry or not, Mark?
So thanks so much for organizing this debate. We've seen the numbers when it comes to cloud adoption in Europe and in the CEE in particular. And they show us that this kind of debates are very much needed, since we're far, far, far away from the digital decade goal of 75% enterprise adoption. Now, if we want to reach this ambitious goal, and I think we all want to do that, it's a question of cost. Businesses, especially those in Central and Eastern Europe, which is not the most developed European region, will have to be able to afford these services and all the applications that come with them. Which means that we need to review a lot of the regulations that we are discussing right now, also in this perspective. Will they bring down those prices and make cloud and AI and all the other top technologies available to a greater number of our users? Or will they increase the price and make the barriers of adoption even higher than they are today. And I think this is a very important point, meaning how do we make an economic analysis of all the regulations on the table and adjust them accordingly. Meaning that, yes, we need regulation. Technology is a huge industry, cloud in particular. And yes, we need a very clear set of regulation, and therefore, we should all salute the fact that we have some regulation on the table. And I know the big cloud providers and tech companies are basically welcoming regulation per se, but at the same time, we all need to be careful to make sure that this regulation is actually clear, that it's common sense, and that it doesn't unnecessarily increase the cost of adoption of top technologies in Europe. Because we need to understand one thing. The elephant in the room isn't the US, isn't Google, Microsoft, or others. The elephant in the room is China. And we have been, I would say, lagging behind not just the US, but also China when it comes to all things tech. When it comes to 5G, when it comes to a number of other advanced technology. And I'm afraid the AI tech race will be the one that will determine the champions, not just of businesses, but also when it comes to geopolitics. So from this perspective, we need to make sure that Europe is not just the world's greatest exporter of tech regulation, but also one of the world's top exporters of tech services and products.
Thank you very much. I fully agree that we need to, digital industry need regulations, clear regulations, but not barriers in this business. And I hope that finally we'll have exactly the same situation in Europe, that we will have very clear regulations, but without barriers, without bad influence on prices in this on this market. But you mentioned about Europe, China, and US in this global relations, and I would like to ask Roberto, because we had very hot discussion last year about cybersecurity certifications for cloud services, and probably we'll have a few months more this hot discussion. But Roberto, do you agree that it's a good idea to put in the same line as a third country US and China providers in this discussion about cybersecurity in cloud services? Is it a good idea to use this such technical regulation to get away from European market, for example, some American digital companies based on cybersecurity? Is it a good direction, especially based on our situation right now in Europe, based on war in Ukraine? Is it a good idea to put in the same line China and US as third part countries?
First of all, good morning, everyone. Thanks a lot for the kind invitation. I must admit that it's a tricky question. In the sense, I'm a technical person, so I'm not, let's say, it's very much geopolitical, discussion. And I try to provide, for me, a more, first of all, what is going to be the objective that we want to reach. So we're talking about, in Europe, about digital autonomy, sovereignty, and then, of course, how we want to achieve, this target. And actually, what are the important technologies that we need to invest in that are going to be vital for the economy, for the citizen, and then that we need to consider. The second point, it's, of course, cloud, it's an important technology. We've seen, first in your introduction, but also, from the Commission, and then it's been like key for many, many sectors, and also for the citizen, because we have the data of the citizen that are directly stored on the cloud, and that is of course the case. We need to consider that there are different kind of legislations at the moment, and then the cybersecurity certification schemes, under definition, of course, could provide a way to offer certain guarantees, when we acquire cloud services. So I would say that I'm not giving a direct answer, to your question, because as I say, it's very tricky. But for me, we need to keep, like Europe, of course, at the central, pillar, and then we need to consider that we are living in a global situation. Of course, we need to deal, technology is global, so we cannot just live independently, but we need to talk with third countries, and of course achieving a certain autonomy in Europe that will enable us to guarantee, like for instance, fundamental rights for the citizen. And I think that this is part of the regulation, that is going to provide, but also, guaranteeing innovation for the different companies. You mentioned important point about how much is going to cost the services, and this is, of course, is the impact of the legislations. From the technical point of view, what are going to be the security requirements, controls that we need to put in place, but also what is going to be the burden for the industry, to provide that. What is going to be the impact of the cost of the citizen? So these are all discussions that are coming into play. And of course, at the end, we need to do a trade-off. We need to do how we want to manage, our risks, and then what we in providing, our services. So I would say that it's for me, these are the key pillars that we need to take in consideration, and around that, we can of course debate for long. Everyone has his own opinion.
Thank you very much. Of course, if you would like to add something or discuss, please feel free. And of course, our guests in the room and online audience can ask the questions. So please feel free. Of course, I would like back to cybersecurity for sure for some issues. But first, Edward. What is your opinion about all these regulations, cybersecurity, and what is the chance in these regulations for CEE countries, for Romania, for Poland, for our region, to build some potential of being some digital hub for Europe, for example?
I think it's the right moment for regulation, because we talk about national recovery and resilience plan. So we talk about money for cloud, for interoperability. Also, we talk about the Russian aggression against Ukraine. So we need to talk more about cybersecurity. And it's very important to say we have a strong development of technology. We talk about artificial intelligence, Internet of Things, smart manufacturing. So we'll need the right regulations to prove our stability and to have the right framework for development. So I think it's the moment to have this regulation and to have this discussion in European level, and also a good practice. And we saw that in Romania, because I'm a state secretary of Ministry of Research, Innovation, and Digitalization. So we are in a permanent contact with the research community, so we can be predictive of the new technology, and of course we need to improve this relationship, and we need to find the right framework, but we need to have more and more the new subjects, the new topics on the panel, and also we need to talk more and more about interoperability, because we talk about cybersecurity there. We need to talk more about technical standards. If we talk about APIs, if you talk about security API standards or authentication too, I don't know. But we need to go more and more on the technical part of the technology things.
Thank you very much. Mark, last question in general point of view. 2 years ago, you said in Warsaw that it's a pity that in Europe we don't have, especially in CEE countries, we don't have big examples of successful startups in digital industry. And that is your dream to have some examples from this part of Europe. In your opinion, based on your experiences as in business, in politics, what we need to reach this goal? Regulations, money, skills, competence. What to do to achieve this goal which we mentioned in Warsaw?
I think that's $1 trillion question. Now, if we look at the 20 or 30 or even 50 biggest software companies in the world, you realize that only one is European. and that's SAP from Germany, which we all know and respect very much. But that company was founded almost 50 years ago. Europe hasn't been able to produce a global tech champion in the past couple of decades, not just a couple of years. And this, I think, is very problematic. And obviously, there's no silver bullet. There's no one thing that we should do to become, you know, the next Silicon Valley or the next incubator of world's leading tech companies. But there are a couple of things we should definitely do. First of all is basically to complete the single market. Right now, if a company, even an IT company, wants to scale across the continent, you need a legion of lawyers and translators and other staff just to do that. If you look at the number of telcos we have in Europe and compare that number with the number of telcos you have in the US or China, we're talking about crazy numbers. You know, our internal market, when it comes to all things digital, simply isn't integrated well enough, and doesn't allow our smaller companies, SMEs, to scale as rapidly as they can scale in markets like the US, China, India, and other big countries. That's one thing. The second thing is lack of capital, and this is fundamentally important. We've seen some strides in this area in the past couple of years. We've seen some hardcore Silicon Valley VCs opening their offices in Europe, including Sequoia, but we need more of that. We need more capital to be deployed across Europe, but especially in Central and Eastern Europe. That's traditionally been an underfunded area Europe-wise. When it comes to top talent, I think we have it more than enough. Especially in Central and Eastern Europe, we have a tradition of producing excellent STEM experts. The fourth thing I think that it's important is obviously regulation. That ties with the first point that I made. And lastly, it requires a change of culture. You know, we should not be afraid to fail. I know it sucks, it's not easy, but it shouldn't be a lifelong stigma. If you look at the top founders in the US and elsewhere, you know, they failed again and again until they succeeded, but their failures didn't stop there. They went on. So it requires a change of culture. It requires that we get rid of this fear of changes, of transformation, of reforms. And I think here's where CEE is really at the forefront. We're not afraid of changes. We've gone through so many changes in the past 30 years. We're not afraid of the word reform. You know, as the French, what they think about reforms, and you'll have a new wave of protests across the country. Talk about reforms in CEE, and the question will be, when do we start? So I think we have an inherent cultural advantage and a new breed of top tech entrepreneurs that are creating fabulous companies across the CEE. But if we won't fix the key points that I mentioned as Team Europe, then I'm afraid we won't see a new batch of global leaders coming from European tech anytime soon.
Thank you very much, Mark. I hope that we will be able to reach these goals, but let's back a little bit to regulations, because without regulations, or maybe because regulations, it will be impossible to reach this your target. Kasia, I have a question to you about Data Act and AI Act. It's two, I think, right now the hottest topic in industry minds right now. What is your opinion about these regulations? Is it a good direction in Data Act to build this data-driven economy in Europe? What is, in your opinion, risky in this project?
Well, of course, we support adapting of both regulations. As you have said, it's not only for the industry, but also for a hot topic for those who are engaged in the negotiations of these acts within the Council and also with the Commission and the European Parliament. Minding the calendar, we do not have that much time to finalize the works on these two very important pieces of legislation. So we are very focused and supporting for the presidency, now the Swedish presidency and incoming Spanish presidency, to finalize the works on those two important pieces of legislation.
Don't you think, general question to you, that, for example, in AI Act, that we have some examples of to over-regulation, maybe I can say, especially if we are talking about high-risk AI, because I have a feeling that as a Europe, we are focusing on this regulation and whole world are doing business on AI, and we are discussing about some ethics problems in AI, and we are focusing on classification of this high-risk AI technology. Do you think that this regulation is going in good direction? Is it possible to keep distance toward global business in AI based on this project?
Yeah, actually, I'm thinking about not just about regulation, but we need to, for AI, actually I studied as software dev, the AI part. Firstly, we need to provide data for AI. We know for machine learning, we need data sets, testing and production data sets. Also, we need the processing power. And it's very important of the topic of the event cloud. So we'll have, in Europe, we'll have the processing power, because we talk about national clouds. It will be a lot of national clouds, but the regulation part, we need to offer the right, the flexibility of artificial intelligence, and also we need to focus on the financial part of artificial intelligence and finding the right way to have some funds for AI startups, because we have brains. We need to use our human resource capacity to push this subject more and more in the front line of technology.
Mark, you would like to add something, I think, because you take the microphone.
Yeah, so look, during the Slovenian year presidency, I was also heavily involved in the negotiations that related to the AI Act. Look, again, we definitely need AI regulation. AI today is like the air. It's everywhere. You might not see it, but you know it's there. And I think we've come a long way from our presidency to today in making sure that the compromise, which is not yet final, obviously is a lot more balanced and pro-business than it used to be, or should I say pro-SME. I'm especially excited, obviously, about the regulatory sandboxes, about special channels of communication between the Commission and the SMEs, and I do believe that this piece of legislation will become a trendsetter globally. We'll see similar AI acts being enacted elsewhere. So I would say the key thing here is also to remain flexible and to reevaluate this legislation 3 or 5 years down the road to see whether it works or not, whether it hampers innovation to an unacceptable extent, or whether it fosters it. So that's, I think, important. The second thing it's important is to really inform the tech and especially the startup community of their rights and obligations once this act is adopted. And I think this communication was somewhat lacking in the past. So there's been a lot of speculation, a lot of misunderstandings, but in the end, I do believe that the AI Act, or the final compromise that will be reached, will affect only a tiny percent, or let's say a fraction, of the IT industry in Europe, and that's how it should be.
Thank you very much.
Two things. For artificial intelligence, we act also, we need maybe to take from the software industry the idea of iterations, because this domain is evolving and we'll need some changes. We need to be to say the truth in this field, and also we need to come as governments, as European authorities, to come with some practical examples. And one of the examples we have in Romania, the first Prime Minister advisor based on artificial intelligence. It's a first step to show, look, that's in a physical way, that's the artificial intelligence. Some small steps in this field, but to have more and more visible products in this field, and maybe more and more governmental products in this field.
Thank you, Roberto.
Yeah, so I think, first of all, I mean, AI, it's very strategic technology, so we still don't see much what we can expect, from AI. We talk more about machine learning at the moment, so it's so we need to see also in the future how it's going to evolve. And then, so for me, there is a key part that is also try to explain, there is this concept of explainability of AI, understanding, the risk that especially the citizen and then might face with AI solution, AI services that are going to be provided. So I think that also Mark mentioned that it needs to be reevaluated in the future, and I think that is important because at the moment we still don't see, the full potentials and then what is going to be covered with AI services. And again, for me, it's a balance of the risk. So we need, of course, when we provide a technology, when we provide services, we need to have a full understanding of what is going to be the intended use, what is going to be the risk associated with the technology itself, and it needs to be duly evaluated to understand, what controls we need to put in place. There is an important aspect that AI Act is not going to sit alone, but it needs to be also in the context of different kind of legislation. Maybe also we need to consider also the interplay with the Cyber Resilience Act. Maybe in the future there might be certification schemes to cover part of AI systems. There could be the algorithm, there could be the system. We don't know. We are going to see that. So it's again, it's very key for me to not just focus on the AI Act itself, but to provide a wider context. That means that when we look at SMEs or when we look at solution providers, we need to provide them specific guidelines on how to comply with the different legislation. And for me, that is going to be the key to avoiding, hampering innovation, and then to really have solutions in Europe that really could show the implementation of technology and also benefits for the society, for the industrial sector. Mainly, we're going to see that AI is going to be used in any kind of sector. I mean, you can see that already is foreseen that it will start from decision making, industry, health, whatever. I mean, it could use AI. And it's going to be a complex landscape. So let's start, with small, providing clear guidelines, and then let's see also how it's going to move in the future with technology and what could be the impact of the technology itself.
Great, thank you very much. Edward, I have a question to you about cloud in Romania, because you have special regulation about cloud services in Romania. I'd like to ask you about your experiences in Romania. In your opinion, what we should do in CEE region to increase level of cloud adoption in SMEs especially, but general in administration, in SMEs? Do we need some special regulations? Do we need more money, more education, more awareness across whole societies? Should it be obligatory and complementary using cloud services? What to do to reach minimum this average level of EU adoption, 41%? Of course, we can dream only about this level in the digital decade, frankly speaking. I'm afraid in our region.
Yeah, I think the most important thing, we need time.
Do we have time?
We have, with this technology development, I don't know if we have enough time, but actually we have technical brains in Romania. So in our national regulations, we have some technical things. For example, we'll have a hybrid cloud with a marketplace. We'll have, for the security part, we'll have also our private cloud. And we'll have an API gateway for interoperability. And also, we need experts in cloud. And we need digital competencies for public administration, for companies, and for citizens. And in our National Recovery and Resilience Plan, we have funds for this. And we have some programs for digital skills, basic digital skills, for advanced digital skills, IoT, cybersecurity, smart manufacturing for companies. And also we have money for public servants for their digital skills. And we'll start with a first level with our governmental cloud with central public authorities. But we need to go more and more to local authorities. But for this part, for our local authorities, we need to be to say it. We will need time because we have a lot of local authorities, and also we have a project we are going in local authorities and discuss about digital signature, about cloud, about cybersecurity. But and also we are working on our national cloud. We have 4 data centers. The private cloud will have 4 data centers, and in this moment we are we are under construction, let's say, of our national cloud. But it will take some time. It's not just pressing a button or something.
Kasia, we are talking about cloud services. We are talking in Poland. I think we have over 200 services right now in public administrations. So we are talking about increase of this level of adoption. What about cybersecurity in this field? What is crucial for avoid any cyber risk in process of promotion of cloud services? How can we prepare for this process from the cybersecurity point of view?
Well, I'm a lawyer, so what I can say it's on the, let's say, legislation part, but also to start with that we have also launched, after hard work by the excellent team in the Chancellery of our Prime Minister, led by Director Baranowska, the governmental cloud project was launched, and also we have called for a framework contract for cloud services, so the process is ongoing at the national level. Of course, crucial thing, we have implemented fully the NIS 1 directive now, the whole framework that it's there, and also incoming the implementation of the NIS 2 directive in the following months with the changes that the NIS 2 brings into the scope. But I would like to touch upon one important issue that was mentioned by, I think, all of us. It's the skills and people. Because we have many regulations now in place. Pierre was also talking about alliance. We also have in Romania European Cybersecurity Competence Center with the network of national competence centers. But would we see that without skilled people, we will not implement all the very ambitious plans that we have? So it's very important to focus on skills, and we are waiting for the Commission communication of the Cybersecurity Skills Academy, what the framework this would establish. Because without resources, human resources, of course, financial they are important, but in the end, if we don't have people, also we will not be able to implement the projects that even if we have the money for them. So focusing on building the skills, we have also some targets in the digital decade in this respect, I think is very crucial at this moment.
Thank you very much. Kasia and Edward mentioned about time, money, skills. But Roberto, I have a question to you, because on the beginning of our panel, Edward mentioned that we should focus much more on technical details in this field. So what, in your opinion, what is critical from the technical point of view in discussion about cloud, about cybersecurity in this field in Europe? What we have, what we have to do in the next few months or years to prepare our environment for this development, increasing these cloud services across Europe?
Okay, thank you for the question. So I'm just go a little bit, 10 years ago. So I was working at the time on a project for federating cloud services. So that was launched. So cloud was, we wanted to build like in Europe cloud services, but we are not maybe yet mature, to be able to do that because in terms of infrastructure. So I see very much, welcome the alliance, for instance. I mean, that you just try to put all the different pieces together. Of course, there are a couple technical aspects that we need to consider. That is the concept of interoperability. And this, it's important, especially when we want to federate different kind of resources that, that we, from the infrastructure point of view, that we have in Europe. And then from the cybersecurity also perspective, we need to also understand that we need to have, let's say, a common way or maybe like a federated way for identifying, like the resources, for also accessing the resources themselves. So there is still, there are a lot of standards, available. There is already a lot of nice work that is being put together. And I think also Pierre mentioned before the different initiatives like the Alliance, the Gaia-X, so with having some reference implementation of the stack. So we have also different kind of solutions also open source. So I would say that from the cybersecurity perspective, there are still some issues that we might need to face, especially when we look at personally say on the federation of the resources, but it's more on the operational side that we need to look into that, so to have a proper continuous assessment of the service that are going to be provided to the customers. And of course, like the skills, like the people that are going to operate also the services. So we are moving more and more towards automation of using, like any kind of services that we need to also to consider from that perspective, I would say.
Thank you very much. We will have to finalize. Mark, please.
Maybe just very quickly, I love the point about the upskilling. When I was a minister, I think I faced the same problem that you in Romania or Poland or any other country, even in the Western Europe, face. It's impossible to attract top talent into the public sector. Therefore, what you realize is that funds from the RRF and all the other funds that we have available for complex IT projects, there's too much money and too little implementation and execution capacity within our public service. And this calls not just for upskilling programs, but also for a public sector reform. Because we need to have governments that can afford top talent in these areas, not just on a project basis, but permanently. I think in Poland, they made a special scheme for cybersecurity experts in the public service that worked very well. I think it's a good example of how it can be done. And when it comes to Ukraine, I think we are all incredibly impressed by their ability to innovate under the harshest of circumstances. And I would give an example of DIA government app, which is probably the best government app in the world. It bundles dozens of services for Ukrainian citizens. You can do everything through that app. You can identify yourself through that app. Don't need any ID or anything else anymore. And I know that during the UEFA World Cup, over 2 million Ukrainians were actually watching the finals through that government app called DIA. So if they could do it in the wartime, I think we got no excuse of not doing it with all these funds in the peacetime.
in Poland we have mObywatel, quite good application, but of course not so good as Ukrainian, but quite good. So we have few examples in our region for sure, but of course we have to watch on Ukrainian experiences and take some examples, and we can check how and what to do to prepare our countries, our economic societies for future. But Mark, I have a question to you before summarize our panel discussion about transatlantic relations, because we have a specific situation, a war in Ukraine. Maybe based on these experiences, your point of view on our strategic partnership changed, maybe not. But what is your opinion? What is the level of this our relations between EU, CEE region and US crucial for future of our digital industry, digital economy in Europe? Is it possible? Can you imagine even our development of digital economy in Europe without these transatlantic relations? Do we need to put these relations on the higher level? And do you agree that CEE region has a specific point of view on these relations? And right now, especially right now, absolutely, we as a CEE countries, Poland and the rest of region, build absolutely the highest level of these strategic relations.
Yeah, that's a great one. So first of all, I mentioned China before. And if you look at the numbers, you know, it's a pretty grim picture. Okay? 1.4 billion Chinese produce more high-quality data than all the Europeans and Americans combined. They generate almost twice as many STEM graduates every year as Europe and the US combined. Their top AI services that are in commercial use are used by much more people than top AI services that are used by Europeans and Americans. If you look at the number of R&D publications, or let's say scientific publications in AI, the numbers are already, you know, on par with what we're producing in Europe and the US combined, and their quality is increasing rapidly, which means that we need to stick together. And especially when it comes to hardcore, or let's say critical technologies like AI, if we want to stand a chance. Because currently with the numbers that I mentioned, we don't really. So I think transatlantic alliance is absolutely crucial, not just for the future of the tech development of our nations, but also for the future of the free world and the democracies that we are. I would say that CEE has always been regarded as a bit paranoid from the perspective of other European countries in the West. But ever since the war in Ukraine started, I think everyone now realizes that, as Henry Kissinger once said, even a paranoid can have real enemies. It means that Europe had a real enemy all along. It's just that we knew it from our historical experience, and others just didn't want to see it. And I think finally now the whole Europe is on the same page when it comes to our key strategic challenges, talking about Russia, also China. And I think our transatlantic relations are in a much, much, much better place than 1, 2, let alone 3 or more years ago. So I think we've had this moment of awakening. I think everyone rose to the occasion when it comes to Ukraine, also when it comes to other key questions. And I'm glad that, you know, Trade and Technology Council is finally producing some tangible results. Obviously, we want more. We want things to be done faster. But we are getting closer, and the Americans are finally also serious about this tech dialogue. And I'm very optimistic. Obviously, we're not there yet, but we're in a much, much better place than we used to be. And I think we all now understand that that we can only succeed if we act united. But if we'll be divided, we will fall altogether. So I'm optimistic.
Thank you very much. I hope that we all will be optimistic, summarize our panel discussion. I have some general question for the end, and that's the question to all of you. What about future? What is, in your opinion, most important for us in building a digital economy in our region, our countries, in whole Europe? And how can we use this unique opportunity which we have right now on the table, especially in CEE region? How can we win in this game?
Sir, the single word: collaboration. Because as we see, we have the same, almost the same problems with experts, finding experts in public administration, the salaries, the funds, the national regulations, national clouds, artificial intelligence, and we need collaboration with private sector, because it's I think one of the best way to have a scale up resources. I will take from cloud terms. Yeah, a good collaboration with private sector can help the governments. Also, a good collaboration between governments, because for example, for Romania, we have a very good collaboration with the Republic of Moldova. They developed a lot of solutions, microservices, for public administration with almost non-resources, in-house solutions, and we are trying to use these solutions and integrate in our technical infrastructure. Also, we need to discuss more about some technical standards and having a priority in the interoperability part, because we need this for collaboration. And also, as I said, we need time, but we don't have time, so we need to have the right framework for resource scale up, elastic scale up.
Thank you. Kasiu?
Well, just to add, we have to stick together. We are 27. It's challenging, but it's also rewarding because we can share our best practices and knowledge between us. So exactly, there is a need for strong cooperation, coordination, and we have different fora, and we should focus on strengthening the fora that we have rather than building new ones. So seek what we maybe miss and strengthen this. Of course, as it was already said, keep building and strengthening single digital market. And I would also say stay positive. So look positively towards future and for the good solutions.
Thank you. Mark?
I think I've already talked too much, but yes, I agree. It's collaboration within the EU, it's collaboration with the US, and it's also the collaboration with other democratic partners around the world.
Thank you. Roberto?
I would say like investing in like skills. I mean, that's been discussed before. Been talking about cooperation among EU member states in EU, that is key, that is important. But I would say also to put to the next level public-private collaboration, because we have investments, from the public, we have investment from the private sector. We need to have the agendas, the strategic agendas that are aligned, and then because just only working together, we can move really forward in succeeding.
Thank you very much. I fully agree. Collaboration is key for us to success, to common success in Europe, in our region, in every single country. We have to exchange our experiences, find some common solutions, and maybe building this partnership between private and public sector, but between private sectors in different countries, we can probably create quite good and big new projects, new services, and we can win on this global stage right now. So thank you very much one more time. Our guest was Edward Mitelu, Katarzyna Prosak-Górniak, Mark Borys Andrianic, and Roberto Castella, and I hope that after a few next months, if we will be able to meet one more time, this collaboration will happen. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Right now we have a short break for coffee, and next we will start the next panel.
Should I start from? Okay. Okay. And we are back. For those who don't know me, I'm Luca Bertuzzi, technology editor at Euractiv, and we are here to discuss the uptake of cloud technology from a national European perspective as well as a business user perspective. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce our speakers, and I'll apologize in advance for any mispronunciation, except for Alberto, who's a fellow national of mine. So Alberto Di Felice, Director for Infrastructure, Privacy and Security at Digital Europe. Marcy Nowaksky, Vice President of the Union of Entrepreneurs and Employers. Robert Bogdanfi, Public Affairs Director at ANIS Romania. And Mikhail Kanonki, President of the Management Board of the Digital Poland Association. Okay, that was literally the most difficult part of the panel.
You have to work on Polish.
I know. I'll need to find time for that. Right, Michael, first of all, I'd like to give the floor to you to give us an introductory perspective on from the point of view of the coalition on everything that has been said until now.
Thank you very much. Yes, as a digital coalition, digital industry of CEE region, 3 Cs countries, we would like to put a very strong message from our interested side to European Commission, our governments in our region, that we have to invest in digital transformation of our economies, of our companies, our administration. Cloud is one of the most important part of this transformation, and it's crucial to create first very clear regulations in this area on the European and national level. We have to avoid long administrative processes in cloud services. We have to invest in digital skills, in public administration, in SMEs, in every business, to prepare our consumers to using this digital technology, to understand what is going on in cloud, why the cloud is so important, what are benefits from using cloud services for administration, for business, for every citizen. And of course, we have to take care about regulations on the European level to avoid over-regulation, to avoid situation that we will create some rules which will be difficult for some, especially American companies on European market, to avoid any doubts in our transatlantic strategic partnership. To avoid any doubts in Data Act, AI Act, European Resilience Act. We have a lot of regulations which will be crucial for development of this digital market in Europe, in building in digital single market in Europe, and absolutely as a digital industry of CEE countries, we would like to support this process of digital transformation in CEE in whole Europe. And we hope that based on our experiences, our common opinions, we'll be able to prepare better solutions for this digital future for our region, for whole Europe.
Thanks for that. And I would actually like to stay with you, Michael, because, of course, the ambition is there in Europe, and everyone is looking ahead and trying to understand how to digitalize. Perhaps we can make this a bit more concrete, taking Poland as an example, since it's a leading country in terms of digitalization. So what is the state of play in terms of cloud uptake in Poland?
Well, from the one hand, we have a very difficult situation in Poland because we have only about 24% of cloud adoption in Poland. So absolutely, it's much below our possibilities in this area. But on the other hand, we have a huge investments in cloud in Poland. We have huge investment of Google in Cloud Hub in Warsaw, with investment of Microsoft. So we are ready for building a very strong data economy. We have very good regulations around building data centers in Poland. But what we need, we need especially digital skills, digital competence across whole society, especially in public and local authorities. Last 2 weeks we had a special workshop for local authorities in Poland, and absolutely it was one sentence from one opinion from these people from different small and bigger local authorities that they need knowledge, they need awareness about digital transformation, about cloud, what for and how to prepare these services, and what is benefits for authorities, but for citizens as well in this process. And the benefits, of course, it's easy to say to everybody that using cloud services made our business or administrative more cheaper, faster, easier, of course. But for local authorities especially, we have to explain what are the benefits in amount of money, frankly speaking, nothing else. So we need a lot of investment in the process of building of digital competences in Poland across. Of course, we have to invest in new services in administration in digital way. We have in Poland over 200 services right now. But of course, we need much more, and the possibilities, of course, are much bigger right now. Last month, government approved new regulations about mobile application of identity in Poland, mObywatel. I hope that it will open new possibilities for new services in this area. And of course, we need money to invest, especially for SMEs, which are absolutely below the average level, even for Poland. They don't have enough money for investments from their side in new services, new technology, and without some national or European support in investment process, it will be impossible to reach some goals for, especially for SMEs. But of course, the crucial from our side as an industry point of view is building awareness across business in Poland about benefits from digital transformation. That based on this technology, we can, as a business, create new products, new services, and we can be quite strong players on the global market.
Right, thank you for that. Now, staying on this national perspective, I would like to move to Romania now. So, Robert, I'll address the same question to you. What is the state of play of technological uptake in Romania, and perhaps also building on what Michael said, how do you compare the situation in Poland and the rest of the Central Eastern Europe region?
Sure, thank you so much, and hello everybody, and thank you so much for inviting me, first of all, for Digital Poland Association, the CEE Coalition. I think it's important that the IT sector of Romania also expresses their view on these topics, because we have been very active in discussing with the government, especially in terms of the public sector's adoption to cloud technologies. I would say that in general, if we look at the DESI index, right now Romania is unfortunately last, and in terms of cloud adoption in private companies, it's, if I'm not mistaken, somewhere around 15%. So that is not very encouraging, but there's definitely a lot of space to grow, so let's look at it a bit positively as well. And if we're talking about cloud technology, there could be a rapid adoption rate as well. So if we play our cards right, I'm not that worried about being last. We can leapfrog ahead and we can adopt better solutions. So a few important markers. The government has enacted the first piece of legislation regarding the government cloud at the end of 2022, and it was a decent compromise between the use of public and private cloud resources. It created a governmental cloud platform that can integrate private clouds or solutions from the private sector with the use from the public cloud providers. So the flexibility aspect of this was very important, and it does exist in legislation. Secondly, there's a major investment from the national resiliency plans of 4 data centers that will be part of the governmental private cloud infrastructure. Unfortunately, what we have seen is that there's a lot of focus on the latter part. So there's a lot of focus on a public sector use of private clouds and the development of physical infrastructures, and not so much focus towards how are we going to integrate the two. And in order for that to happen, we've always said that you have to start from knowing the needs of the public sector and doing this analysis and then doing data classification and then finding the right balance there. So I think also what we've discussed in the previous panel is very important. The cooperation between the public sector and the private sector is key. And I was very happy to see that the public sector represented by the State Secretary Mititelu here was acknowledged this fact, of course, and we're happy to see that this dialogue continues. What is very difficult is to see the effects not just at the national level, right, at the national ministries, but also locally. So if you're looking at local administrations and smaller businesses and the adoption there. So that is very difficult, and that is up to digital skills as well. So Romania, in that way, it has a public, a cloud-first strategy, but it's not a public cloud-first strategy at the moment. So we would like to see it towards a real hybrid infrastructure, moving towards a real hybrid infrastructure that works and is adopted widely.
Thanks, Robert, for that interesting perspective. Perhaps moving away from this public first perspective, Marcin, for a more business user perspective, what is your view on the companies that have to integrate cloud into their processes? What sort of challenges are they looking at, and what are the sectors that are most likely to lead the way into this process?
Thank you for the invitation. So let me start with kind of 2 sides of the story. One is about skills. We're not meeting our expectations. We're kind of behind our goals and aims. But on the other hand, Poland is a large center for engineering, IT engineering. Both Poland and Ukraine together produce more IT graduates than the US alone. So we have the competence, and the competence is there, but somehow skills among the public, among our population are still behind our competence and IT graduates. So we are a strong producer and provider of services, regardless of the IT specialization, but also including the cloud technology. You can see polls all around the globe, and also investments in Poland that were mentioned by Michał. This is a sign and a kind of perfect example that Poland has a great capital in terms of people, engineers, to deliver not just in the region, but to deliver globally. And the question is how we can capitalize on that. Definitely what I see from my perspective, I represent one of the largest business organizations in Poland. we integrate both SMEs and large business, but in terms of volume, of course, mostly SMEs. This is kind of one way. Going into SMEs is one way to move up, but we need to be kind of clear that this is an extremely difficult market. We have more than 2 million companies, SMEs in Poland. They are not integrated. There are no single place or even few places where you can attract them and communicate with them. So this is a great challenge. Even for us, we have 18,000+ companies on board, but I mean, comparing to 2 million, it's still a fraction. So every time we discuss the way we can somehow approach those companies, also hand in hand with different stakeholders, companies, corporates, government, is a challenge. So it's kind of a process. We need to do it with kind of massive resources. It's super expensive to approach them and to communicate. Then there are definitely two sectors I could mention were heavily dependent on the state, and both sectors can make a significant difference. One is healthcare. I used to be an investor in the healthcare business privately, and second is the energy sector. Both sectors need to enter the cloud technology, and in a short period of time. If we want to go into telemedicine, I used to be active in teleradiology. Without cloud, you can't make a difference. You can't scale it up. And I wanted to share here my kind of personal story, how difficult it is in the healthcare business, and that was mentioned by Mike Boris before, that in many areas, many subsectors, we don't have a European single market. In the healthcare is a perfect example. We want to have a better efficiency in terms of services and access to medical data, but we can't really send medical data often from one hospital to another, regardless of the country member state. It's just difficult because of service providers, because of different companies with closed systems at the hospital level. But imagine sending medical data to another member state. Almost mission impossible. I mean, because of domestic rules, domestic laws, it's super difficult. You basically need to move your servers to a specific country in Europe in order to provide medical services. So, I mean, we need to look at our domestic policies and then make sure that there are no thresholds to really deliver basic services, whereas business is ready to deliver it. I mean, teleradiology is the largest part of telemedicine globally. It is, of course, the largest market is the US, in Europe, the UK, but I mean, there are a number of players willing to be active at the kind of pan-European level, but you simply can't make it. I mean, it's super difficult, expensive. So as SME, I was a small company, but one of the largest providers of teleradiology in Poland, in a large market. I was not able to somehow move through this wall.
Thank you, Marcin. And I think the last years have shown just how important is the resilience of the healthcare and energy sector. So, Alberto, now for you the task to bring us back to the European perspective on everything that we have said until now. And of course, when we talk about Brussels, we talk about regulation as well. So also, what are the main regulatory challenges that the cloud sector is facing at the European level?
Thank you, Luca. Excellent pronunciation of my name, no doubt. I think among the many barriers to cloud adoption, I think I would still mention from a regulatory side the fact that we're starting from a position of high regulatory fragmentation still. So that project of the digital single market is still very much there. One thing that we haven't mentioned, for example, is the role of public procurement rules in fostering or hampering cloud adoption in Europe, and that is particularly important given the role that public sector, the weight that the public sector has in procuring in Europe. We're still facing, scenarios where there are, if you will, market access barriers still within Europe that are very illogical. So right now we're starting from a situation where in healthcare, if you are a Polish company and you want to sell into France, you'll have to have separate certification to process healthcare data of French citizens. And that's definitely not something that helps achieve more scale. And this fragmentation, again, creates huge problems of scale, both in terms, frankly, on both the cloud provider side, but also on the cloud customer side. It's a much more difficult market to reach. It's much more expensive to reach compared to other geographies. And that is, again, partly a market problem, but also a problem of regulatory barriers that we haven't been able to solve and create more regulatory harmonization. So when it comes to actually solving it, I think that's the objective that commissions, various commissions for years have had. This single market, didn't start with this commission. It started with the previous commission, and we had something else that was a synonym for it with the previous one. And right now, I think we haven't seen a commission that has been as digital, a legislative term that has been as digital as this one. That's a very good thing. We've been asking for more digital to be part of policymaking. That's a very good thing, but you also need to be careful what you wish for, because there's been a lot of new great legislative ideas that are currently on the table. And obviously we need to get that balance right, because there's a lot of good intentions about again, solving that fragmentation and scale problem that sits behind these proposals. But again, you must never forget that whenever you have a legislative proposal, it sounds very exciting, but when you'll go into implementation, you're creating a new legal framework, and you need to make sure that you're not creating more hurdles than you're trying to solve. And a lot of these proposals were mentioned, or at least there's at least a dozen that I could mention. There's NIS2, which is huge and will have a huge impact across cloud and cloud adoption throughout a lot of critical public and private sectors in Europe. Again, just doing NIS2 implementation and making sure that everybody is up to speed and everybody can do cybersecurity at scale for cloud and critical sectors, both in critical companies and in the public sector, public authorities that will have to supervise the framework, is incredibly challenging. There's this wallet idea that will promise to be at the center of a whole bunch of new public-private services based on cloud. That's also in discussion. There's the AI Act, again, high-risk use cases, and not, let's see what happens to general purpose regulation there. Cyber Resilience Act, there's not a single piece of software that will not be impacted, and we're still debating the relationship with the cloud side of things in relation to the products that will be regulated there. There's cloud security certification that we're still heavily debating, where the sovereignty discussions are front and center. There's the data strategy, so Data Act, Data Governance Act, where, again, there's this, heavy discussions about sovereignty as well, in addition to, again, creating more conditions for cloud to be adopted, because data sharing will need cloud. And there's, again, specific regulations, certainly in healthcare, where the health data space is one of the more promising, I would say, pieces of regulation. But again, it's a very complex piece of regulation, you could argue, because it deals with a very complex area, which is healthcare. But then again, there's a lot of things to look at there. And then obviously financial sector, which is a key pull in all these discussions about cloud, because the financial sector is a heavy user, critical user of cloud, and now it has its own specific regulation that we'll have to implement. So I think the key challenge there is, as was already mentioned, is making sure that this is actually not creating more problems than it is trying to solve. And right now, this is what I'm grappling with as a lobbyist, trying to convince everybody to amend the right parts of all these proposals, so that in 4 years, I won't face a lot of my members complaining that they can't do it.
Mika,
yeah, I would like to add two things, because first, about private sector, especially SMEs, Frankly speaking, we are after 3 years of big pressure for digital transformation in business. First because COVID, now because of cyber threats and cyber attacks because of Ukraine. So it's natural pressure on companies to be more digital, and it looks good. Yeah. Fine, that because we don't care why companies must be more digital. But what is the questions? What is the surprise in Poland that after these 3 years of a very difficult situation, we still have about 20-30% of SMEs in Poland, which doesn't think even about digital transformation. That in their minds is opinion that they don't need digital transformation. It's very strange, it's very risky. Why? So much companies doesn't even think about this process, which is natural and absolutely beneficial for every company. And from the public side, it's very crucial what Alberto mentioned about public procurement. Because for especially local authorities, it's very difficult to compare different cloud providers right now. They have no skills how to compare these services, how to prepare contracts for these services, especially for very small local authorities. Is very difficult to prepare this kind of contract, and we have to invest and build this knowledge, awareness, how to prepare, how to think about the digital transformation, how to build some cloud services for local authorities, because without that it will be very difficult to build this knowledge in SMEs. That the example should be sent from the public and local authorities. Without this strong message from the local authorities to local SMEs that be digital, it will be very difficult to build digital transformation in SMEs, especially that we in local authorities we have no idea is it safe to keep our data in some cloud in nowhere in some place in the world. Sometimes local authorities doesn't know is it okay for the local legal side, is it okay to keep this data in some cloud in the space. So there is a lot of questions especially in public procurement, and it's crucial to find answers for especially local authorities in this area.
Yeah, thank you, Michael. I would like to part the public procurement side of things and give the floor to Marcin, because what you said is very interesting in terms of the entrepreneur's mindset of what are they thinking about the digital transformation, and is regulation actually hampering that rather than facilitating that?
Just a kind of follow up. So again, the two sides of the issue. I understand local business. I come from a kind of business-friendly family, so we all at some stage were involved. My parents are still involved in a small business. I understand them. Small business most of the time is operating locally on a local market. They don't even cross the region. So if you operate locally, let's say you are a construction company operating in a town and or even city, basically your needs in terms of digitalization are also kind of limited. You are in touch directly with your clients. You deal with a very tangible service with construction materials. You need to kind of integrate the supply chain is quite limited. You basically know all the players, and you touch all the materials yourself. So I understand to be basically non-digital doing that kind of business, and this is where the public sector, the public ecosystem comes and really plays the role. And we can take the example of Estonia, recently Ukraine, where throughout a number of digital services that are connected, interconnected, integrated into one or two, three apps, you can make a difference, because at some stage people realize that it's easy, first of all. So the way you use it is easy as internet banking right now. So even internet banking, it took time to really deliver to SMEs. 10 years ago, we were in a different position in terms of internet banking. Now it's much better, and kind of the positive experience with internet banking on the mobile apps can be used by states, regions, cities in order to kind of pursue SMEs, micro companies, mostly micro companies. This is kind of where the scale is, and where the owner is fully operational. He or she does everything. So I think that the direction into mobile apps provided by the state or regions, depending on the kind of system we have among member states, is the way forward with digitalization, using the example of internet banking.
Thank you, Marcin. And going back to the public procurement side of things, Robert, you mentioned this idea of the Romanian approach being the public sector driving this digitalization process. And I think we should always ask ourselves, what are the best practices that we see at the national level that could be taken at the European level or also across the region? So how do you think this, what is the lesson learned from Romania on this side of public procurement?
Well, first of all, I think it's important to note that I don't see the government driving the digitalization at this point. I think companies are more advanced and they're ahead of the game here. What has happened is the legislative aspect of things has created a gravity in a way that is attracting now a lot of interest around cloud, right? So because we do have a cloud-first strategy included in the law and a very specific plan for a governmental cloud, I think that has created a lot of interest, and that has created a lot of gravitational pull towards this kind of technology, right? Which will have a good effect eventually, but we are not yet at that moment, right? So in terms of correct, efficient use of cloud, because that's also a very important point we haven't touched upon. There are many degrees of cloud. You can try to call a data center with virtual servers and say, yeah, this is a cloud infrastructure, but does it really have a platform as a service? Is it really operating correctly? Is it efficient in terms of costs and energy? So in that sense, our industry has focused a lot on on the narrative that if we're going to make this step, we should make it right. And in that sense, I think if Romania does reach a very good level of balance between the use of the private infrastructures created by the state, the data centers, and the resources available, and of course, utilizing AI and other resources available in the public clouds, then we will for sure be a model, even probably in the European level, not just in the region, right? So we're at a point where we have made a couple of steps, and it's time to perform. From here, you have to have the secondary legislation, and I really like this conversation because I'm seeing that we have the exact same challenges, essentially, with contracting, with SME adoption, with local authorities having a lot of difficulties. This is a very complex subject. It's not easy for the public authorities to implement. It's perhaps easier to pass legislation in that sense, but everything that happens afterwards is a transformation not just of data hosting. It's a transformation of the public sector as a whole. And that's what happens in companies that adopt cloud as well. They realize that they can be a lot more productive, And now the public sector is realizing, whoa, we can really rethink the whole way of operating. And let me dare say that's not a very popular thing in the public sector, right? It is very difficult to change. So we're at a crossroads here. We have made the steps, the right steps. If we continue and we build more trust between the public and private sector, not just across the ocean, of course, across the Atlantic, we need a lot of that trust in the future, but internally, between cities, between national government and local government, between large companies, smaller companies, between the Romanian ecosystem of software developers, because Romania, just like Poland, has a very powerful infrastructure created around private companies that develop software. And if we can use all these things and make this mechanism work, then yes, we will be exporters of highly efficient software solutions. So we can become a model. Thank you for considering us a model. We're not yet there, I believe, but the steps have been taken. So from here on out, we can do it. Yeah.
Yeah, and I would actually like to turn this question around and address it to you, Alberto, because we are seeing all different. You were mentioning this fragmentation of the single market. So, what are the sort of best practices that you see from the European level that could provide a model for European policymakers, but also for national policymakers?
I think part of the interesting, exciting things that have been happening, and again, as a result of COVID and the other many challenges that we have to live with, is that with this commission, we have seen, again, that use of public money put to service to try and model this enormous cloud market that's very fragmented in Europe and trying to create that collaboration scale. Digital Europe was clearly, as you can tell from the name, one of the people who were actively asking for that 20% of the RRF go into digital, half jokingly in a sense, because it was difficult even for us to believe that it would happen, and it did happen. And I sort of like the way that Mark put it. Right now we're in an awkward situation that there is too much money and too little implementation capacity. It's a luxury to have, but it's exactly what I think we should be focusing on. We should not forget that a lot of the challenges that we have are about business development. It's a lot of hard work, rolling up our sleeves, doing things together, creating a demand pool and an offer, also push, and creating that scale that we lack. And if we do that, we can achieve those new models of public-private collaboration that we're talking about. So I think there's a lot that's happening. There's huge challenges because, again, the skill shortages is there. It's real. Everybody mentioned it. I want to mention it. Another file that we are not talking about as much in the tech world, but it's very important right now. There's a discussion about a reform for the long-term residence directive, for example. So right now, if you're an Indian engineer who's craved by all software developers in Europe and cloud companies in Europe, and you've lived for 5 years in Germany, you've gone through the pain of getting a resident permit in Germany, you've gone through the pain of learning German, which is a fairly difficult language, not as much as Polish, but still fairly difficult. And you find a nice job offer in France. Well, you need to start from scratch. You have no guarantee that you can stay in the European Union, right? This is, again, something that we lack in terms of attracting talent, in addition to building talent and more graduates in the right fields in Europe. So yes, we need to do more of that business development. I think it's happening. But again, we are sometimes distracted by more philosophical, ideological discussions sometimes in some of the legislation that we face, and we shouldn't keep sight of working it through and rolling up our sleeves and getting things done.
And that's exactly the type of discussions that I try to avoid to touch upon today. But of course, public and private collaboration, it's easier said than done. So from the private perspective, what is it that you are asking national policymakers? Maybe Michael first?
First, on the national level, I would ask our government for first very clear regulations on national level, how local authorities, SMEs can use different digital services, especially cloud, how to avoid a long administrative process in this area. We need support for green energy to invest in data centers in Poland. If we would like to create Poland as a hub for data centers, we need clean energy for these investments. And last thing, we would like to ask for money for building competences. From the youngest people till SMEs, till public administration, we have to build these competences. We have to invest in trainings, programs, webinars, in two ways. First, how to use this digital technology, how to use cloud services, and on the second hand, how to build a new services for customers, especially in local administration, how to use this technology in building smart cities, how to use in healthcare system, in energetic system, in public transportation. We have to have very strong competences in this area to prepare, build, and offer a new digital services for our citizens.
Marcin,
of course, and last thing, because only one sentence, and I would like to ask for a change way of thinking about administration, about digital technology on the national government's level. Only two rules: digital first and cloud first. If we will agree with government in these two sentences, everything, rest of everything will be very clear and easy for us.
Yes, go on.
Very nice. I think those 2 points are valid in Romania as well. I'll try to focus a little bit on the specific cloud issue into 3 different areas. First of all, we need a clear data classification system, generally applicable in the public sector, and this will help with cloud adoption more than anything else, and it will also help with interoperability. So we have to work on that, and we have to do it fast. Then the public cloud use needs to be made easy and clear to all authorities wishing to use advanced software solutions and services. This will not hinder security in any way. In fact, it will increase security. We are seeing still many authorities that have legacy systems, and believe me, any cloud solution you choose will be 100 times safer than legacy systems and on-prem systems, right? Then the third aspect, while the state continues this process of acquiring and building the data infrastructure, the data centers on the private part of the governmental cloud using the national recovery funds, we must remember that cloud technology is essentially about a competitive software market, not just virtual machines. It is about a competent platform as a service and software as a service, right? And if you have those offerings to public institutions and a competent marketplace, then all of a sudden you'll see microservices that require private software involved, and you'll see that the national industry is competent and can deliver these things, and together, once again, we can make change happen. So these are the aspects I would focus on.
Marcin, anything to add to that?
Yeah, we're not too demanding. We simply ask our government to be one of the most friendly country for businesses. It's kind of easy. There are indexes. We see where is the wealth of nations, and somehow it's it's easy in the way that if you take the most pro-market economies globally, those are the wealthiest countries and businesses in the world. So we definitely want to kind of promote this kind of philosophy. We appreciate where we are as Poland. We see and kind of we experienced the kind of international global success in terms of last 3 decades. We are definitely one of the most successful economies in Europe, perhaps even globally in terms of the growth. That's appreciated by businesses. We are kind of part of that success, but we think we can do more. Again, we are happy with all those investments, mostly coming from the US into the cloud and IT sector. But being even more friendly towards businesses, we can bring most of large international funds investing into IT and cloud and all the subsectors. And I think that should be our kind of position and role as government, business organizations, businesses themselves, to really attract more and more investments. This is the way forward. This is how we can kind of get and boost capitalization of Polish, of domestic businesses. We need the capital from outside, not just to come and invest as a FDI, but to invest into our companies as a venture, as a way to build our economy and competitive advantage. Thank you.
Thank you, Marcin. Now to you, Alberto. Your first intervention was about the risk of over-regulating and going beyond what's necessary to facilitate business uptake. So, turning this around, how can European policymakers ensure they get this right and that they don't overburden companies in terms of moving into the digital transition?
Thank you for that question. I mean, I think particularly member states should be paying a lot of attention in the context of heavy commercial regulation, such as the Data Act, for example, to what is coming out of the industry federations. I think there's a lot of noise around these topics. You'll hear very polarized views. And we have sometimes, very different views within our own membership. And the beauty of listening to what's coming out of the federations is that it provides you with that snapshot of what overall industry feels about the direction of travel. And we do have some concerns about the complexity that we're creating. Just to give you an example, I mean, the Data Act is great in the sense that it provides those incentives and those rules to get more of the IoT data economy, data sharing in the cloud that relies on that going. But on the other hand, it sets a whole lot of different rules and a whole lot of different competent national authorities that will have to enforce this system. So right now, there's a risk that we'll move from a place where people think about data processing, their compliance in terms of GDPR and the one-stop shop and how they deal with data protection authorities. And right now, it might get a lot more complicated because they have not only the data protection authorities, but a couple or more authorities in each member state where they operate that they'll have to respond to. I cannot believe that this will help anybody. So these are some of the things that, where member states also need to be bold and listen to what is coming, the concerns, and act, sometimes in a more European fashion, and sometimes, again, understanding that a lot of the political goals that we have may be right ideologically, they sound correct, aspirational, but they're simply not doable. We need to scale back a little so that we can make those baby steps, if you will, that in a few years will collectively put us all in a much better place.
Thank you, Alberto, for that. So we are drawing to closure, but we have time for questions from the audience, either in person or online. So just checking if we have any question. Yes?
A little comment and a question. First of all, I'm very happy to see that such a large portion was dedicated to the issues of digital competence, because I feel like the regulatory aspect and the resources aspect is also covered so greatly, but digital competence, not always. And I feel like one of the issues that appear are like sort of adoption bubbles. For example, we can see that big companies are strong adopters, where SMEs are not so much, or that some industries adopt cloud very rapidly, while other industries do not adopt it at all, or do it in a much smaller scale. So I guess my question is, how do we spread adoption of cloud across sectors or across industries, where their individual needs differ so much, and thus probably the skills needed differ so much? So is leading by example at all possible in the field of cloud, or it just doesn't work in this case?
Who would like to take that?
Maybe I will start. Well, it's a very hard question, frankly speaking, because someone who find the way how to teach SMEs from different sectors that digital transformation is crucial for them as well will be very rich man. But first we have to build awareness that absolutely every sector needs digital technology, digital transformation, even agriculture. It's impossible to build an innovative, strong business without digital aspect of this business. So this is the first step to build this awareness that digital transformation is crucial for absolutely every sector. And the second thing, I think that it's absolutely critical to start building the competence from the youngest people, from the first days in schools. Because this will be the future of SMEs and big companies in every country. These people, young people who are starting educational process right now. So of course it's impossible to reach these goals, build this awareness immediately. But it's a very long-term investment. But we have to start right now as soon as possible, and not only in Poland, not only in Romania, but across whole Europe. We have to think about next generations.
Well, first of all, I have a lot of trust in the market. So I think that if we're worried that a sector is going to be left behind, we're going to see that other sectors may have companies so efficient that they will have the time to move towards that sector and digitalize it. And unfortunately, the companies that do not see the opportunities of the digital future will be left behind and will disappear. I think there's so much in terms of innovation that if you're not focusing a large part of your time to see how you can reform your business and how you can reform the way you're doing your natural order of things and make it more digital and more efficient, that's the word, efficiency. If you're not worried about that, somebody else will be worried about it. So somebody else will come in, and then all of a sudden it's going to be too late, right?
On that positive note.
Yeah. So answering that question, I would move back to those two sectors that I started with. I mean, both energy sector as well as the healthcare. I mean, we are all kind of dependent on that. We use both services on a daily basis, regardless of age or what we do on a daily. So if there's an ability, we get rid of sector-driven limitations, such as in the healthcare, even domestically, and we allow us or private players to exchange medical data between themselves easily, without a kind of agreement-based troubles, because often to integrate two apps you need to spend a lot of money because of kind of business perspective and the close technology they have. But if this will be allowed, then all of us using daily healthcare services will use the app. It can be private, public, whatever, to exchange medical data, to send it to doctor, to get it back. But it must be a kind of massive ecosystem in a specific sector. The same in energy. Right now we are getting kind of really aware of the situation of our of the cost of energy, of possible risk in terms of the supplies, and also the quality of the service. So if we finally at member states level and kind of pan-European level decide to disintegrate the system, if we open towards direct lines between housing areas or housing areas and local industrial player, if we allow to do that, we end up with number of applications, number of technologies involved, all of them digital, to manage our energy supplies, to integrate, to shift energy from a local business owner to our house and backwards. It must be happening soon because of the costs and some of the external limitations. But again, it's about allowing us to kind of improve the market environment, to get rid of some of the regulations, some of grid monopolies. In most of countries we have a grid monopoly and doesn't help. There are some actions ongoing. Yesterday I spoke to Kadri Simpson on that directly. We discussed the new electricity market reform. It is there partly. So hopefully through the kind of sectoral approaches, we can do a lot in terms of digitalization.
Umberto, do you want to add anything?
Just a couple of things. I think there's never been such a pull in terms of sectoral initiatives. So if you look at the data spaces, either actual or announced, there's got to be more legislation even that data spaces. But there's a whole bunch of sectors that are getting organized. This is happening in like vertical initiatives like Catena X, for example, automotive. But I don't think there's ever been more enthusiasm across a whole host of smaller, bigger actors in energy, healthcare, buildings, manufacturing, a whole host of areas. So I think it's happening, but there are still quite a lot of challenges. And again, the effort and time, resources that must go into those efforts are huge. So it's sort of a chicken and egg sort of question. Like there's a gravitational pull. More people are aware of these initiatives, but it's still very difficult to participate and shape those. So I hope that we can keep this momentum, keep working, head down on the actual implementation stuff, and I think over time that market will develop and deliver.
Right. I'm afraid that's all we got time for today. I would like to thank our speakers for a very interesting panel.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for hosting.